Hello everyone, this is Krish from Informatica Customer Success Team. Today we are going to discuss how to load data from MongoDB to Snowflake using database mass ingestion. So we have few supported MongoDB version, anything 4 and 5 community editions or standalone and replica sets can be used for initial load, and any 5 version for Atlas on replica sets can be used for incremental loads. For supported operation for the MongoDB to Snowflake, we support insert, update, and delete. So any records, if we wanted to read from Mongo and want to load into Snowflake, we should be able to use a initial load, or we can use an incremental load going forward once the unload phase is done. So what are the steps that we should follow to load data from MongoDB to Snowflake using database mass ingestion? And as you know, Mongo has a document, it's collections, and where we store as a document, um, it's a not relational data. It's kind of a document, unstructured data. So the steps that we're gonna follow is first we create a MongoDB mass ingestion connections for the initial and incremental load. Then we'll build ATBMI jobs for incremental as well as initial, and then deploy the initial job and run the load. Once the data load is done for the initial data, we'll develop the CDA job to parse the JSON data and convert them into H2R, which is nothing but hierarchical to a relational. Once the initial load complete, deploy and run the incremental DBMI job. Before jumping to a demo, I just wanted to discuss few more points. Like we have a documentations available under docs.informatica.com for mass ingestion database, where MongoDB is a source and Snowflake as a target. For MongoDB source, mass ingestion database creates two columns. One is the ID field as well as the other one is the the variant. For the document, it will create as a variant on the Snowflake. So the ID column, which provides an identifier as similar to a primary key, and the document columns, which consist of the entire JSON objects, the entire Mongo records, the MongoDB documents. Therefore, the mapping shows the target data type associated with each of the columns will create as a variant as well as the ID as a varchar. Let's move into a demo where we're gonna build two jobs, one initial and another is the incremental, which will ingest the data from Mongo to Snowflake. Logging into an IDMC platform. Before I build a job, I just wanted to show what are the connection that I have created for Mongo. So I have created two different connection, one for the initial load, which I give a name as Krish MongoDB MI, and another one is Krish MongoDB incremental. So if I look into this connection, it's a database mass ingestion type connection where we have given a name, and then we select the runtime environment as a host and port because it's a standalone MongoDB. So it is running on the local host, nothing in my system, with a port 27017. SRV is false, and username for the database that I have created with creation given a password. The authentication database is info. Similarly, we have created another connection for incremental. The type is same, the MongoDB mass ingestion, but here the host and port is different because it's running on a Atlas on the cloud. So it doesn't need a port. We just run the given a host for this, and SRV is true for this, and I have created a different user and password for the incremental connection. As you see this, for the demo, I have created a complex JSON and this particular JSON I will be inserting as a document within the MongoDB collection, and then I will be ingest the data into Snowflake. As you see, this is my MongoDB compass, where I have created a database called info. Under the info, I have created a collection name which is called DBMI Mongo Snow. Now I'm going to create a record within that um, document. So let's click add data, insert a document. I'm going to paste this document, click insert, and now a record got inserted. Okay, I do see the enter JSON is now inserted. Now I'm going to build a job, DBMI job, to load that same data into my Snowflake database. I have logged in within my IDMC platform administrator. Let's go to data integration or mass ingestion, because mass ingestion also now part of data integration. So you should be able to see all the different mass ingestion data type under, mass ingestion job type under the Informatica data integration. So click new, and then if you go to mass ingestion, you should be able to see this option, database mass ingestion, database ingestion tab. So if you have to select and create, for the demo purpose I have already created this job um, within this folder. I'm go through each and every job, why we created and what the purpose of that. So for the initial load, I have created a job called MongoDB to Snowflake initial. um, if you see this MongoDB to Snowflake initial, this job has this is the first is the definition page, where I have given a name and I've created within a specific folder location, and then I choose my runtime environment, and this load type is the initial. This is a initial load type. Now before I go to if you see this the initial load type, and then in the next I have to choose the connection, and this is MongoDB connection that I have created earlier. I choose this one, and under the database I created, I choose that particular database is in advance. Within that database, as you know, there are a collection created which is DBMI Mongo Snow. This is the collection I will be using. Has two different fields, ID and document. So both are now selected, and then I go to the next page, which is my setting up my target. For this purpose, I have created a Snowflake connection, which is already created prior building this job, and the target connection type will be create targets. Schema that I have set within my Snowflake gcs underscore cs, and this for the temporary purpose staging location that I need to give, and I haven't set any table rename rules, so it's gonna be creating exactly the collection name that we have on the database, on the Mongo database, and then click next, and you see this is scheduled, and because I'm going to run on a manually, so I'm not going to uh, change anything, and because it is created, click on discard, and here the initial load, and if you click on my jobs, let's pick the name, and then go to my jobs, look for these jobs, and let's redeploy, and then it's deploying. Deployment completed, so click here and hit run. Click refresh. As you see, it is up and running. So you see this job, read one records and write one record, so one subtasks. So this is completed. This is a complete status, one record rate. Let's go and have a look. So this is my Snowflake um, database where I created this. I mean, Informatica gonna create this uh, collection. You don't have to create anything. It will create by mass ingestion job itself. So if I see this one right now, it got this collection. I mean, this is the document that I created into Mongo, and this moves to my Snowflake data. And you see these all tables for right now is blank. We haven't loaded anything, these three tables, but we'll discuss later part of it. And also in the incremental, there is no data. So once this data is loaded, basically from the Snowflake nature, for the Mongo JSON, it's added a backslash to identify each every element as a new line, as a special characters. So added, and before we consume the data directly from Snowflake, we need to remove this. So for that, I have a branch layer, which I will be, eliminating this. So I need to parse as a JSON within Snowflake, and I will remove this. So how can I do that? For that, um, this is the same folder location I will have to show. um, we have a brown job that I created. So it's a very simple thing. It's just reading as a source, which is nothing but the table I created just now, which is the DB my Mongo Snow, and I choose the same connection, and within a query I am actually parse JSON. This is the function I'm using, parse JSON within Snowflake type, and I mean the Snowflake function parse JSON to parse this document. So basically this document field we are parsing, and I name as a document, and infa last replicated. So this is the one that we created within the DBMI jobs to identify when my record was read last time for the replicated time. And so this is the time which actually creates that infa last replicated one, and then it basically go and write into a target, which is nothing but from bronze to my not sorry, it is loading into my bronze table. So it's reading from the actual source, which is nothing but MongoDB Snow, and loading into the bronze. Now let's run this job. Okay, probably you should see that job is running. It is going to start. It is now queued, and it started running. See the row processed one. It succeeded. Let's move into Snowflake. If you see, so let's execute one more time. I do see this record came without this. So just notice this. Previously it has this backslash. Now it is removed, and I have the same, exactly the same JSON document. Now I'm going to develop another job, which is going to read this particular document and parse it. So before I go to that, to discuss this one, I just wanted to let you know, to parse a particular JSON, I have created a hierarchical schema. This is nothing but if you click here and click components, you will see a hierarchical schema can be created. This is a one hierarchical schema, this component. So I have created this one, and this hierarchical schema I used this particular JSON, which is nothing but the job that it is loaded here. So I copy that JSON, and I saved that into a location. This is the one that I saved, and I uploaded that JSON to this hierarchical schema to define the metadata of it. So this one has already uploaded that JSON to define the definitions of the JSON structure. Now go to this folder again, and then the next job that I is going to do is the silver one. So what this basically does is to read that JSON, which is nothing but this one, and then it do simple expression thing and parsing through the JSON parser and loading to a target. Now let's look into that mapping. So here my source is again, it's my bronze one, that the same table that I'm going to read. um, Here I'm not reading as a query option, it's a single object, so I will be reading with an expression. What I did is I created all fields. I'm created as a name prefix to make sure everything is coming correctly. These are my fields which will be included, and then it is passing to the hierarchical parser. Now, with the hierarchical parser, it is nothing. It's a transformation. You see, this is the transformation that I use, and you need to pass that as a input fields. So it has a settings. Click buffer and then click select, and then choose the one that I created. So this is the one I created. I choose select, and this is the input fields that I have a document ID and info replicated time. So which is nothing but the ID document and the info last replicated time. Now the input field mapping. So through the hierarchical parser, this is the input that it is I mapped as a SRC document, which is nothing but this is the one that I rename as an SRC. So this is the one I did a map. And if you see this field map, it has basically it parse all the array, all the components. Um, and one thing that I just want to talk. So here you can get a relational one. So it will create individual records into a multiple groups the way that it is reading as a parse. For right now, I'm loading as a denormalized one. So I wanted to load the entire record into one single table. So that's the denormalized way I'll be reading it. These are all my output fields, and then I'm mapping them to a target. So this target is the same Snowflake connection that I'm using, but this time I'll be mapping into the silver one. Okay, so let's go to the field map. As you see, I'm doing a manual map, so I mapped all the fields. You can do a smart map uh, or it can be an automatic map, it's up to you. But I mapped all the fields including the info last replicated. So one thing to notice, um, the hierarchical parser has an option which is called as a pass-through. That means if you are, this is enable, that means any fields which are coming from source, if you are not passing that field to that hierarchical parser, but you want that field to be passed through the hierarchical and you need that into the target or the next transformation level. So this is important to select that field, so enable the pass through field. So this field, as from the source, if you notice that there are three fields, which is ID document and info last replicated. I mapped there as a document, but I still need the info last replicated that particular field. So that's what I choose that option, input setting as a enable pass through, and because of that I can see all the incoming fields are available, which is coming through as a pass through. Okay, this is the field. These are the three fields that I can see. Now here I did a field map. Everything I did map, including the info last replicated. Okay, now I'm going to run this mapping. Let's click on my jobs. Keyword. It's running. Yeah, so it reads and write all these records. Now come to the silver. If I see, yeah, this is my denormalized data. So it basically writes the enter record is a denormalized way to a table. um, Now because it has all those records is denormalized, I'm going to merge them together and then create a single record to my target. So for that I'm going to build another mapping which will load from silver to gold. Okay, so this is a mapping. If you notice that this is a SQL ETL, which means when I create some new and then click on new and click create, this is a mapping SQL ETL that I chose. That means I am using the mapping SQL ETL, which is basically is a native function within Snowflake that executes within Snowflake. That Informatica code will be pushed to the Snowflake data and it will be executed there. So this is a SQL ETL, and here it is reading as a source Snowflake. I created a query. It's a query that I'm reading all those fields which are available from the server and then group by with an ID. That's a some query. That's the query that I'm using. And on the target side, these all the records are going to the gold table, and these are the target fields. I have did a field map for all the records which are coming from source. Now if I run it, and if you know, because it's a SQL ETL model, you can do validations uh, to make sure the code is mapping, and obviously the SQL ETL generated SQL, you can see how the SQL ETL query is generated for the native SQL for Snowflake. So SQL is generated. Yeah, if you notice, this is the native SQL is generated, uh, and it's gonna be executed uh, in Snowflake. So let's run this job, and for that I have created on top of it to a mapping task, and then I'm going to run this. Click on my job. This is good, and this is in running state. So this is succeed, and now if I come to the gold, I will see all those records combined to a single one, and the record loaded into a table and includes the last replicated time. So which will help for further consuming this data for any downstream system. So they can identify the incremental data like when it was last consumed. So use that time they can even use for the next process. So this is the final record that I created, which came from this one. This is the JSON document that I have. Now this is my final version of this record. Yeah, in between, if you wanted to apply any quality rules or something, you definitely should be able to do it. As I said, all those are CDA mapping except the first one, which I used a mass ingestion to bring the data into Snowflake as a variant. And then I have some intermediate stages to parse the JSON and load into a denormalized way, and then club them all the denormalized data to merge into a single records and load into my gold table. So that's how we can use the database mass ingestion and a combination of CDI to ingest the Mongo data, Mongo document, and load them into Snowflake as a document, like a hierarchical to a relational data. Let's discuss how we can build an incremental job to ingest data from MongoDB to Snowflake in an incremental fashion. So before we go ahead and discuss the incremental job, let's create a record. Okay, let's develop the mass ingestion incremental job first. So we have an incremental job. Um, as you know, this is the same template that I used for initial. Um, and then the only thing that I change is the incremental load type. Then click next. I have a connection which is now pointing to Fish MongoDB INC. This is the new connection that I use. The host is different because it's an Atlas. The standalone we don't support. The one that I used for the initial. So for the incremental we used Atlas 5 dot and our versions. So here I have a collections called demo, and then I'll be reading documents from there, and I'll be loading into the target. Same to same. The apply mode is standard. You can have standard audit and sub delete, but here I will be using a standard mode. As a create rule, I created any source table which is coming will be targeted at INC as an incremental underscore start. The name will be replicated, and then I click next, and then it's saved. Okay. Once it is done, then I click on deploy. Once it is deployed, it should be under my jobs. So let's look for this, and then look for this. It is deployed. This job is deployed, and then click on run. Now it is up and running. Okay. Now if I look that job details, it is not reading any records, not written any records. So this is basically on a up and running mode. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a record within Mongo so that it can ingest the data as an incremental way. Okay. This is my MongoDB compass for uh, the incremental one, which is running in a different database. Now create a collection. Demo is already there. I'm going to add the records. So let's pick one of the record which I will be putting from 2. This is the record I will be creating. Okay, so let's take this record and click on add, insert document. I click here as a document, and then I see this is inserted. And then let's pick so far how the data looks. This is subtasks running, which is in for demo. I haven't picked any new records yet. Let's move ahead and create the next record, which is this one, and then I'll go there, add records, insert document, this and insert it. So now I have 1 and 2. This is 6 2 something, and this is 61db4 something. So I have 2 documents that I created. Now I'm going to see my job. It's still up and running. So far I haven't read any records. And also if you notice in the incremental I don't see any data. That's fine. Let's see. My Mongo is up. Yeah, it is up, and I can insert it. Okay, so I have two records. Okay, oh, it's read 2 records, so 2 got inserted. So the incremental identified those 2 records and it inserted. Let's go and take a look into Snowflake. Yes, I do see those 2 records inserted. One is 61, another is 62. This 61 and this 62 both got inserted. Now let's look for an update. So let's make some changes one of the record. Let's update this record. Let's updated this one, Medicare. Okay, and then click on update. So this record has updated with the Medicare, and let's look for um, this one. So far 2 inserted. I want to see one record for update. Make sure we updated. Yes, it is done. It is now Medicare. Okay, and I see we already identified as an update. So let's take a look here and see. So the 61 got updated because this is the one. Let's copy, open to a new one and paste it. If you notice that we updated to Medicare, right? API. Now you see the assessment title is now updated to Medicare. Previously it was a different value. Now it is updated with that Medicare. So that means based on the document ID, records are now updating. Now look for another operation called delete. So in order to delete, what I'm going to do is from here, 61 and 62. So let's delete these 62 records. Let's delete these 62 records. Click delete and then click on delete. So there is only one record. Now if there is only one record, I'm assuming this also should capture this delete. So let's wait for this. So you notice that there are two inserted initially, then I updated one records, so it reflects here, and it also deleted one. So if I go to Snowflake right now, previously it has two records, 62 should be deleted. So let's execute this, and you don't see the 62. So it basically ingests the same record um, depending on the operations that we are performing on the incremental. And as you know, this is an incremental job, so it will continuously up and running 365 days. And all the operations, like the number of records that it read, because initially we inserted two, updated one, and then finally deleted one, so all the records get read, and using one subtask, it performs all the operations which we can see here. So using the incremental job, we should be able to read from Mongo and as well as we ingest the data into Snowflake. And as you know, it's pretty much the same thing what we perform on the initial load. So in order to consume the same data, you have to follow the steps. So basically what we did in the bronze layer, like remove this backslash, and then silver we denormalized into a single multiple rows for that record, and we merge them together to get a single row. So we got that particular records. Okay, so this is how using dbmi we can ingest the mongo data to Snowflake. This ends to our demo for mongo to Snowflake. As a summary, you can refer those reference documents which are available docs.informatica.com. We would love to hear from you. Please reach us on supportvideos@informatica.com, or we have a Twitter account, info support. So your feedback and any suggestion is welcome. Thank you for watching Informatica support videos. Thank you.